Let me get situated, man. So, thank you guys for being here, man. Thank you for giving me a safe space every single week to tell my story and share my truth. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to be a creator on this app, and to be any kind of social media influencer these days is absolutely amazing. So, thank you guys. In the winter of '93, man, I was born in Western North Carolina to two addicted parents. My brother was born before me. He's almost 2 years my elder, and we were raised by our alcoholic father. Our mother passed away shortly after I was born because she had severe health problems. Pneumonia is what I was told was her COD, and I was very young, so I don't remember my biological mother at all. And my brother and I were raised by our father. Uh, our father had his own struggles as far as mental health and addiction. He never talked about our mother. There weren't pictures hanging up or anything like that. He very sheltered. He didn't show a lot of love. He was very much a dictator, and he was very angry. From what I remember, my father was very angry growing up, and he took that out on us. From what everyone around us told us, he didn't want to have kids, and he actually made that very clear. He would get sauced and sit us down at the table and tell us, hey, I can't take it. I can't do this anymore, and DSS is going to come get you guys tomorrow. DSS would come the next day, and he would cuss him out and be like, you're not taking my kids anywhere. DSS was it was just a normal part of my life growing up. Every year in school, I was talking to counselors, DSS people, having to go to Asheville to the DSS office and make statements and all kinds of stuff about my living arrangement. That was just normal growing up for my brother and I. We regularly had to deal with DSS because our household it was a party. We grew up in the party trailer in the Swannanoa Valley. Everybody's parents knew to come to our house to party. So that's what my dad did. And there were parts of our trailer that we weren't allowed on. We couldn't go on the back porch, and we couldn't go in our dad's room. No matter what, under any circumstances, did we ever go on the back porch or go in our father's room. Now that I'm an adult, looking back, I see that there were things taking place in our household that shouldn't have been. I can say, though, that my dad tried the best with what he had. And if it wasn't for his mom, if it wasn't for my mamaw, then I'm not sure that my brother and I wouldn't have got taken by DSS. Because there were multiple occasions where we had to go stay at our mamaw's house while dad was under investigation, or dad was having, catching charges or anything else. He had to go to a drinking class at one point where we had to go to our aunt's house and then our grandmother's house. We had to switch off every other week because dad was going, I think it was AA meetings. Honestly, now that I don't know if it was meetings, but he was going to some type of like alcoholic thing. I think it was meetings now that I think about it. But I remember it was just, it wasn't a normal childhood, but it was normal to me. It was normal to my brother. It was normal to us. Adults, smoking, drinking, beer cans everywhere, cigarette butts everywhere. That was normal to us. I was under the impression that whenever I become an adult, that is the way I'm to conduct myself. And my dad, the way that he parented us was, do as I say, not as I do. And he lived by that, and he walked by that, because on multiple occasions we saw him harm women in our household. But he taught us to never put your hands on a female. He taught us to always hold the door for those behind us. And to this day, I hold the door every single time there is someone around me so that they can walk in before me. My dad taught me that. He was just very different in the way that he disciplined us, and that said a lot about his childhood. Now, my brother and I, we were named after our grandfathers. My mama had my grandfather, and then she remarried, and there was a step grandfather. That's who I come after. My name comes after. So my brother and I were named after our grandfather and our step grandfather. Well, I ran away at 12 years old. Okay, and I ran away because I couldn't take it anymore. It was an abusive household. I had stepbrothers that had popped up in the picture, and they pretty much did whatever they wanted. My dad stopped drinking, but he started doing other things. This other woman became like a stepmom figure with her kids. And I remember the first time I ever touched THC, I was 11 years old and I was up at the baseball field with my brother and my stepbrother. And we smoked and stuff, and I got back home and I told on myself to my stepmom. My older brothers got in trouble. You know, she sat me down and told me that I don't need to be doing what they do and all this. I was 12 years old whenever my dad and my brother got into it. My dad was a racist redneck, and my brother and I rebelled against that. So we listened to Bone Thugs and Harmony, Tupac. We sagged our pants and we wore t-shirts that were too big for us. And I was 12 years old whenever my dad and my brother got in an argument, and my dad was actually going back to his bedroom. I was sitting in the kitchen. He stopped, he turned and looked at me, and he said, "And if you don't like the rules in this house, you can get the F out." At that time, I was making a Hot Pocket in the microwave. Bing! I grabbed that Hot Pocket, and God said, "Run." I didn't pack clothes. I didn't grab a backpack. I grabbed my Hot Pocket, and I took off out the door, and I ran. At 12 years old, I ran a mile up the mountain to my friend Ryan's house, and his mom took me in. And that started my teenage years of not being able to stay put and constantly running. Families would try to help me, and I would always get in trouble and, you know, blame it on them in some way. You know, they don't want me, I'm a runaway and all this, you know. When in reality, looking back on it, a lot of these people wanted to help me, man. They you know, wanted to take me. They took in a kid that didn't have family or people that cared and stuff, man. And looking back on it, it's so amazing that God put people in my path at 12, 13, 14 years old, man, that allowed me to play sports, allowed me to, like, keep going to school. I had a roof over my head, and God protected me during those years. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. But I always ran, man. Every time I felt like there was any kind of stability in my life, I would always find a reason to run. And I was a teenager, man, whenever I ended up in the group home. I ended up in the foster care system. I was the runaway in our high school, and it got back to my counselor. The high school in Black Mountain's right next to a group home. It's called the Black Mountain Home for Children. It used to be the Presbyterian Home for Children back in the day, but now it's the Black Mountain Home for Children. They found out that I was a runaway, and I ended up talking to counselors, and they ended up putting me in that home, in that group home, and I ended up in the foster care system for the next couple of years, and that wasn't that bad. Like, the group home was great. I learned leadership. I learned, you know, who God was. We went to church regularly. We went on retreats. It was a really awesome place, man. A really, really awesome place. And to this day, I will always say that the Black Mountain Home for Children is the greatest foster care home in the country. I used to say in North Carolina, but I'm going to say in the whole country. In the whole country, the Black Mountain Home for Children. If you got anybody in the Carolinas that's in the foster care system, please get them in the Black Mountain Home for Children. It's the greatest foster care home in the world. In the world. It's great. It's great. And that place taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for that place and what it did for me. However, I ended up running from there too. Because I was in high school and I had friends who were smoking, doing their own thing, and, you know, they're like, "Eddie, we got to get you out of the home." They talked to me like I was in prison, and then it started feeling like that because, you know, I couldn't just leave. I couldn't just go hang out with people. They did extensive background checks, and it took weeks to be able to go home or be able to go do anything. It took weeks to get that approval. And they started talking to me like, "Man, you know, you need to come hang out with us, and you can smoke with us and all this." And I was 17 years old whenever I ran from the home. I ran from the home because I wanted to go do what I wanted to do. And once again, my house parent Elvis, he turned off the alarm at 6 o'clock a.m. I already had a bag packed, and I was taking off running through the woods at 6:01, and he watched me. Later on, I turned 18 years old, and I don't know if you know what happens in the foster care system, but whenever you turn 18, that was it. That was it. They stopped looking for me. They didn't bother me. I was on my own. And at that time, I didn't go back to school because I thought they were going to make me go back to the home, so I dropped out for a semester, and I was doing my own thing, and I didn't feel right, man. I was smoking, just doing my own thing. And I was watching friends, like people that, were my boys. I was watching them either go to school or go to work and be productive. And I didn't feel right about what I was doing. So I called the alternative school and they let me come back. And I'm so grateful, man. Shout out to BCS in Swannanoa. It's not BCS anymore, it's Community High School. But shout out to them, man. They allowed this runaway to come back and get his diploma. And even though I didn't graduate in 2011 like I was supposed to, I graduated in 2012. I graduated a semester late, but I am so grateful that the alternative school let me come back and I did graduate, and I'm so proud of myself for that. Right before graduation, or during my senior year, I had a girl tell me that she was pregnant. I didn't believe her because I had heard that before. But then she started to show. And then 2 months after graduation, my first child came into the world. And I was in the hospital whenever my daughter was brought into this world, my first child. She was in the NICU for a couple weeks, and I spent those weeks up there with her. And she was so perfect. She was so great, and I'm so grateful that God gave me her at 19 years old. As soon as I graduated, I had the gift of being a dad. And then 11 months to the day, her mom and I tried to make it work because we were young parents. And 11 months to the day, her brother came along. Exactly 11 months after my daughter was born, her brother came along. And before I knew it, I was 19 and 20 years old, man, and I had Irish twins. And it was absolutely amazing. And I started working at McDonald's whenever I discovered what pain meds were. I had a buddy who looked like he had went and smoked without me, and he was in a good mood, and I asked him about it, and he said, nah, he had ate a couple of these things. And I did some digging, found out what they were, who he got them from, and how much they were, and they were, great price back then and stuff, and everything was real. It was before Pressies. And you got to understand that whenever I took 2 yellow school buses, it was the answer to every prayer that I ever prayed in my life. As soon as I ate 2 of them things, everything was okay. Everything was great. Life was okay. It doesn't matter if we're behind on bills. It doesn't matter if there's a war. Nothing. Listen. All is well as long as I got 2 of these things every morning with my cup of coffee. All is well. I could be a great dad. I can be a great employee. I can be the best partner in the world. But first, I got to have a couple of these things because this is the answer to everything that I've been searching for in life. It wasn't being a dad. It wasn't being a great employee. It was taking something that was pharmaceutical that gave me a feeling like I was invincible. And that habit got bad, and the whole time, my kid's mother's begging me to stop. And those yellow things turned into little blue things. And like I said, this is way before Pressies or anything like that, so them little blue things turned into a real serious habit. And like I said, my kid's mother had been begging me to stop. She begged me for a couple years, and I just kept going. Every morning she'd wake up, money gone, and I was gone. One morning I was in the hood and I was sick. I was leaning out of my car throwing up, and I was waiting on my man to wake up, but God knew whenever that was going to happen. This dude came by and he said, yo, I can help you for half the price. I didn't know what gravel was, never done it a day in my life. I said, man, get that shit away from me, I'm straight. 20 minutes goes by, I'm leaning out of my car, throwing up again. I couldn't take it, sweating, everything, and I waved him over. I handed that man $20 and I busted down what was in that bag, and it changed the course of my life forever. I didn't touch a pharmaceutical after that for at least a year, and whenever I did, I remember that it pissed me off and didn't do nothing. I was sitting at my man's house in PVA being a mule because I didn't have no money. Whenever he said, Eddie, go on this run for me. Go to the store. I got you when you get back. I said, bet. I don't know if you've ever been, a little mule for the dope man, but hey, that's me. I ran down the steps. I opened the door. Car's gone. I thought for sure that my car got stolen. For those of you that know anything about Asheville, North Carolina, I was sitting in the middle of the A. I was in PV8 whenever I ran out my man's house and opened the door. Car was gone. I thought for sure that the car got stolen. I said, Eddie, ain't no way. You left the window down. You left the key in it, bro. You pulled up sick and you wasn't thinking. I thought for sure somebody in the hood done got my whip. So I got to pull out my phone. I got to call my kid's mother. And I said, hey, I'm in the A and the car got stolen. She said, what the F you mean that the car got stolen? I said, I'm in the A and the car got stolen. Now I got to get off here and I got to call the police. And she didn't say nothing. She said, Eddie, you stupid MF. I came and got the car. We're done. And she hung up the phone. That was how my 4-year relationship with my kid's mother ended. And just like that, I was homeless. And I used that as an excuse to spiral into the next couple years of a horrible H addiction where I started poking myself, robbing, scheming, committing white-collar crimes to support my habit, which ultimately led me to incarceration. I got out of a county jail whenever I got picked up from my homeboy, my Uncle P. He was the only one. I had been locked up for my crimes in Henderson County. 30 days later, I got released. I pulled out my phone and I hit up everybody I could because I got Wi-Fi at Ingalls on Spartanburg Highway. I pulled out my phone and I hit up everybody that I could. Please come get me. I just got released from jail. All I got is a shirt on my back. Please come get me. I just need a place to sleep, please. Some of you guys see Big Mike Riley in my comments section sometimes. That's my bondsman. That's the man that came and got me out of Henderson County, that jail. That's the one that came and got me out of Henderson County that night. Excuse me. So by that time, I had already burnt so many bridges in my life that nobody messaged me back. Nobody was going to come get me. Nobody wanted to hear from me, bro. I was a tornado by that point. Multiple ODs. Everybody knew I was going to take something valuable from you if you had it. So nobody wanted to answer me except my Uncle P, man. He hit me back and said, hang tight, nephew. The cavalry's on the way. And it took a couple hours, and the cavalry pulled up at Ingalls. They picked me up, and I went to Leicester, and I went on a really, really tough run where I learned a lot of hard lessons. It was in Leicester that I learned that there are always snakes in the grass. It was at Leicester where I learned how to trap and rubber band my pockets so I wouldn't get robbed. My Uncle P taught me a lot, and I'm forever in debt to that man because of what he did for me during that time in my life. I didn't have anything. I didn't have clothes. I didn't have hope. I didn't have food. I didn't have anything, and that man fed me. That man clothed me, and he didn't have to, man. He let me sleep on his couch, and he didn't have to. He let me watch the door, man, and he didn't have to. And I'm forever grateful for that loyalty. Regardless of what he was doing at that time. That's my dog. And I'm so grateful for him. I was at my homeboy P's house whenever the Department of Homeland Security ran in. Started snipping wires. I don't know if you've ever been part of a federal raid, but it's crazy. It was January 26, 2018. You can look up the news article if you would like, WLOS.com. January 26, 2018. The Buncombe County Drug Task Force team, the BCAT team, Department of Homeland Security, kicked in P's door, put us all in handcuffs, started snipping wires, ripping cameras down, pulling safes out of the wall, interrogating all of us, interrogating P. Where's the stash? Where's the stash? And he's so confused. You know what I'm saying? What? They're outside going through the shed, going through all kinds of crazy stuff. And we ended up getting locked up. Well, that was before he got federally indicted. I was locked up for my own crimes. Like I said, white-collar crimes. I was cashing fake checks in order to support my habit because on the street you got to have a hustle. Well, I had warrants for my arrest for that, so I went down at that time as well. Ultimately, we got released. It was before he got federally indicted. I got released on probation, and I went running. As soon as they released me, I absconded. I was at Peace House whenever my homegirl Chelsea hit me up and said, Eddie, I need you to come stay with me for a little bit because I'm going through something with my ex. I said, I got you. I went into P's room. I told him that I loved him. I said, man, I'll be back in about a week. I got to go help a homegirl out in my hometown, and I got you. I went to my homegirl Chelsea's house and I slept for the next 3 days. And then P's girlfriend hit me up and said that the marshals had came and got him. He had got indicted. I couldn't go back if I wanted to. I was on my own now and I was still wanted by the police. So at that point I was on the run. I was in my hometown. And I was still very much wanting to use and still using whenever I could. My foster mother ended up passing away. I got a call from my little brother that she had a brain aneurysm. And it was so confusing to me because I just saw her the week before. And then she passed away out of nowhere. And I was so heartbroken. And I had a bag underneath my homeboy's sink and he was letting me stay with him at the time, and I was going to get my ex whenever the Black Mountain cop pulled me over. Whoop whoop! God showed up. Pulled me over. I was on my way to prison for the crimes that I had committed. I had a suspended sentence of 9 to 18. That's not shit. 9 to 18. I had already done a couple months, so I was going to go do 6 on state or something. And that's where I put my faith into action. Whenever I got to the county jail, I started telling everybody that I was going to do my time in the mountains, and that's exactly what happened. I got shipped off to Morrison after I went to gladiator school at Polk. And then I went to Craggy and I did my time at home in Asheville. And God showed me how real He was. And that was amazing to me. And it was at that time that I tattooed a cross under my eye because God showed me how real He was in my life. And that's where I really learned how spiritual I was. That I'm a spiritual being. I learned that on that mountaintop at Craggy Prison. And I'm grateful for that, for the time that I spent. Whenever I got released, I was a couple counties away. My ex had actually got us an apartment. But I didn't know nothing about recovery or anything like that. I was working 50, 60 hours a week as a dishwasher at IHOP because she was the manager there. So I got a job as soon as I came home. Whenever another cook or a cook walked up to me and he said, you know anybody that does tar? I said, me! What you mean, bro? What you mean? You asked me. Who are you talking to? Me. I do. You know what? I do, sir. And I went on another run, and that run produced ODs number 7 and number 8. Number 7, I was FaceTiming with my babies. I turned the phone around, I did my stuff, I turned it back around, and the last thing I remember is my baby mama saying, Eddie, what the F's wrong with you? My ex found me on the bed in the back room. She tried to get me off the bed to do CPR whenever my forehead smacked the nightstand. It started leaking everywhere. Blue. So she had to call an ambulance. That was number 7. OD number 8. Please pay attention. I had my 3rd child on June 27th, 2020. In the middle of a pandemic and everything going crazy in the world. Everything chaotic in the world. There was something so beautiful. Everything so chaotic in my life. Every bit of chaos in my life whenever it come to addiction, a pandemic, losing jobs, everything. And then I was handed something so beautiful at the same time. And I need you to understand that whenever her mom was giving birth to her, I was still using at that time, and I was running off to the bathroom every chance that I could get. Running outside to the parking lot every chance that I could get. And I just happened to make it in the room whenever my baby girl got chopped out of her mama. And I heard her cry for the first time, and it was the most beautiful thing in the world. After she was born, They took my third child and I to her room because her mom had to get stitched up, so it was just us. And I remember staring at this perfect baby girl and asking God why she wasn't enough. Look at the scars on my arms, look at my past, look at everything that I've been through. I'm on my way back to prison if I don't do something. And look at this. God, look at this. How is she not enough? Just like her brother and sister, how were they not enough, man? Why is it that other people can have kids and stop using, but I can't? I love my kids, man. It's not a lack of love for my babies, man. It's a lack of love for me. Somewhere deep inside of me, I'm not worthy of being the dad that these babies need. And that's how I feel. Because I can't stop poking myself. I can't stop using every chance that I get. Why is she not enough? And I cried so hard. About 26, 27 days later, I had got a job as a cook right off the exit, and I was trying to be a functioning addict whenever God stepped in and I OD'd for the 8th time. I woke up in the floor of that kitchen with a stretcher going up on my way out the door to go back to the hospital because I had just went into cardiac arrest again. I got released from the hospital. I got out of the car in my driveway and I hit my knees in my yard and I broke down crying so hard. There was a brand new baby girl in the back seat and she wasn't going to have a dad anymore if I didn't figure something out. And her brother and sister, they're already being raised by their stepdad and mom. God, I need you. And at that time, I was waiting for a bed to open at Faith Home in Greenwood, South Carolina, but I didn't have time to waste. By this time, it was June 23rd, 2020. I ran out of dope. So I started frantically calling everybody, every bit of detox facility, and there was one, anywhere close, there was one an hour away in Shelby at the Shelby Crisis Unit, and they had one bed open, and they said, Mr. Norton, if you can make it before anybody else, you can have this bed. You got to stay a week. It's a week-long commitment, but it's first come, first serve. If you can make it, you can have this bed. Please pay attention. God's about to show up again. By the grace of God, I made it to the Shelby Crisis Unit, and that bed was open. I kissed my baby girl on the forehead, and I went inside that detox facility and got ready to fight for my life. I was in that detox facility whenever a big 6 foot tall, at least, man with little glasses looked at me and said, Eddie, have you ever heard of Rebound? At the Charlotte Rescue Mission, I said, no, sir. He said, there's a treatment facility in Charlotte, North Carolina with a state-of-the-art gym donated by the Panthers. It's right next to Bank of America Stadium. You can hear the Panther games. You can hear concerts laying in your bed. It's right next to Bank of America Stadium. Connected to a cafe. You can start working after you graduate. It's 4-month inpatient, 120 days. And it sounded like heaven to me. And evidently, people from this detox facility went to Rebound all the time. So the counselor there knew all about it and couldn't wait to have me call him. Y'all got to understand, by this time in my life, I had been spitting out teeth into my hand at Peace House, leaving pieces of my teeth all over Western North Carolina, so I had one tooth left, barely hanging on. Help! I talked to the nurse Julie at the Charlotte Rescue Mission for over an hour, and at the end of that phone call, she said, Mr. Norton, we'll see you on Friday whenever you get out of detox. And I had been accepted to treatment, and I hung up the phone, and I cried so hard in that counselor's office. I cried so hard. And at the end of that week, man, my ex and my daughter was out in the parking lot. I got to get a bag of clothes, and I kissed my daughter goodbye. And I went to Charlotte and I went to 4-month inpatient, and I fought for my life with some of the best dudes that I ever met in my life. I had the best counselor in the world. Shout out to Mr. Chuck, and shout out to the Charlotte Rescue Mission. I spent 4 months inpatient, learning who I am, fighting for my life, playing volleyball, working out, getting active. And it was at Rebound. It was at Rebound where I was working at the front desk whenever my homeboy Andrew came downstairs and started watching TikTok videos with me. I thought they were funny, so I told him whenever I get home I'm going to download that app. I graduated from Rebound December of 2020. And I came back home 4 months clean, employed, because I got a job while I was at Rebound. I came back home employed, and I came back home a college student because I applied for college at Rebound and I got accepted to Southern New Hampshire University. I was going to get a bachelor's in psychology because people at Rebound told me that I was a counselor. They told me that I was a leader. God showed me that in the form of multiple people at the Charlotte Rescue Mission, that I could lead. I could lead with no teeth. I could lead with one tooth in the front. I could lead with my mouth closed. But God showed me that I can lead. I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for that. And whenever I got home, I downloaded TikTok. And I was working my butt off, man. I was working my butt off, and I started making TikToks with my mouth closed because I saw B Magic. I came across B Magic. If you don't know who Brian is, that's my dog. I came across B Magic, and if it wasn't for God putting him on my For You page, I would have never had the courage to start my TikTok career. I would have never had the courage to start making videos. He was the first one I saw that said anything about redemption, about recovery. And at that time, I had just got home from inpatient. I needed that. I needed that man, and God knew that I needed that man. And B Magic gave me the courage to make my first video. And whenever I started making TikToks, I had one tooth in the front, so I kept my mouth closed. I would step back from the camera and I would point at something inspirational, and I would dance. But I couldn't open my mouth because I wasn't comfortable. I had went viral a couple times, man, while I was working my butt off and stuff. Went viral a couple times, and I had like a following of over 100,000. It was crazy. Within 5 months, I had within 3 months, I had a following of over 100,000, and it was absolutely amazing. I was still working at a bakery and everything. And then my world got turned upside down, and my ex cheated on me. I found out that she had been cheating on me with multiple people over a long period of time. And it hurt my heart so bad because I never would have thought, man, that she would do that. I felt like she was loyal through jail, through prison, through rehab. I thought she was loyal. It turns out that wasn't the case. So whenever I found that out, it destroyed me. It hurt me so bad, but I knew I couldn't run back to dope, man. I knew I couldn't. But I started taking a substance from the smoke shop. And it became habitual, and I started taking it every day. It got to the point where I was struggling with my mental health, struggling with everything that had happened, taking this substance from the smoke shop, and I felt like I was moving in the wrong direction. I became a stay-at-home dad to that baby girl that I was talking about so that I could get my mind right. I was trying to work it out with her mom and trying to see past that and trying to practice forgiveness, because that's what my faith teaches me, right? Is that I'm to practice forgiveness. Don't forget, but you can forgive. And I tried for so long, man. I tried that. I tried so hard to forgive. And at that time, I started going live every day because I had a little bit of a following. So I started going live, and there were people that would show up in my live every morning, man, and we would listen to music. And then I started doing devotion on camera because that's what I learned at Rebound, man, to feel God with my mornings. So that's what I was doing. I would do devotion on camera, and people would come in my lives and be like, hey, man, are you going to be here tomorrow? I had one tooth in the front at this time. I kept my head down just like this so you couldn't see my top row. And I could run a live for 2 hours, 3 hours just like this with my head down like this. I can hide my teeth even with a full plate. I can hide my top row. And that's what I did. Because you weren't going to see my teeth. But then TikTok encouraged me to ask for help. Like I said, I had a pretty awesome following. These people were showing up in my live every day, and they encouraged me to ask for help, and that's what I did. I made a TikTok that changed my life forever. And God put people on my path that pulled out 15 to 17 teeth and put a full plate of dentures last year. And it changed my life. And I went live that day, baby. I went live that day. I was so excited. I started making videos. So sometimes they looked big and bulky and didn't look right, but I was making videos. I was making Transition Tuesdays. Man, you can't tell me shit. Look at this. You can't tell me nothing, baby. Look at this. Somebody who was disgusted in his mouth for years, look what God did. Look what TikTok did. And I was so grateful for my live community and what they did for me. And people were sending me gifts, and I started going to the clinic. Because I'm not going to keep taking this substance from the smoke shop and acting like everything's okay. So I made the decision to start going to the clinic because MAT was the only thing I've never tried. Medicated assisted treatment was the only thing that I've never tried. I've never tried to get clean the right way. I've never tried to use medication the right way. I've never went down this path. So I started taking methadone. And for the first 6 months, I thought it wasn't working. And my TikTok community encouraged me to keep going. They started paying for my medication. They told me, you better go to the clinic and take your medicine tomorrow. And they held me accountable. They gave me a space to be accountable. And I'm so grateful for that. And I kept going to the clinic, and I kept going to the clinic no matter what. And the whole time, man, my life's changing. I'm gaining more confidence. Somebody comes in my comment section and says, Eddie, you've been nominated for a Cheer Choice Award. What the hell is that? And I learned that Spread the Cheer USA is an organization that celebrates positivity on social media. And I have been nominated for motivation and inspiration. What do you mean? Nominated for an award? And it was so amazing, man, and I didn't believe it. And there were hundreds of people that were showing up in my live every day by then. Hundreds of people. Yeah, some people were hating on me and stuff, but you know what? They didn't show it in my comment section. It was so amazing, man. And these people who started telling people to judge your mother. Whenever you come in here and you want to say something about medication, you want to say something about harm reduction, you want to say something about addiction, you want to say something about Eddie, the host. If you're going to judge someone, judge your mother. That's what we told everybody who wanted to come in here and hate. Hey, bro. You know her. You don't know me. Go judge your mama. And that's what they labeled themselves. They put a JYM next to them, and this community was forever known as the JYM community. Because we don't judge people. We accept each other. We love everybody. You have a place at the table here. As long as you don't come in here with disrespect. You can have a difference of opinion. You can disagree with me. You don't have to be disrespectful about it. And those are the people that get blocked. And this community voted me all the way to Las Vegas. And let me tell you something. I had the time of my life, man. And this scared kid from that trailer in Western North Carolina stepped on stage at the Palms in Las Vegas and accepted an award on behalf of hundreds of people who show up right here every single day. This kid from Western North Carolina stepped on stage in Las Vegas where Mama Tot handed me an award for what we do here. And God showed me that this is who I am. Shortly after Cheer, a woman came in my live and said, hey Eddie, my name's Angel and I'm a life coach. And a light bulb, boom, went off. A life coach? I said, wait a second, I want to be a life coach. And that woman said 3 words that changed the course of my life. She said, you already are. Ooh. It was at that time that I realized that spells are real. What you say to someone is real. The words that you say to another individual can change the course of their life forever. She said 3 words to me, and I knew it. God said, that's it. Not only are you a life coach, Eddie, but you're the greatest life coach that North Carolina has ever produced. You're the one that's supposed to put North Carolina on the map. You're the one who's supposed to become an author and write the story of your brother and yourself and the redemption and how you're both doing God's work now. I didn't mention that my brother went through addiction just like me, and then he moved down to Florida, and now he's a youth pastor, and I'm so proud of him. It's amazing to look back on that God took those 2 kids that were scared in that trailer, scared of their dad, scared of the fights, scared of the yelling. He took those 2 kids and he knew that they were going to do God's work. And they were going to pull people out of the fire. And they were going to lead people to Christ. God had a plan for myself and my brother. Around the time that my life was changing last year, I met the love of my life. And I was scrolling my For You page whenever this little redhead chick popped up and my jaw hit the ground. The relationship with my ex was over. And it was like God dropped her into my lap. And the moment she said something to me, within the first 24 hours, I told her that she was my wife because God told me, hey, that's her. I was able to travel up to Connecticut, where she was from, get to know her family and everything. And we went to Las Vegas together, and she was there whenever I accepted the award. And then we had our own home to come to back home in North Carolina. She moved down here with me. She's been down here ever since. I need you guys to understand that my whole life has changed since downloading TikTok. I have courage now. I have determination now. I'm a certified life coach and I'm a certified NLP practitioner. Because I believe that my name will be spoken amongst the greatest life coaches of all time. I believe that I'm the one that's supposed to put the 828 on the map. I'm the one that's supposed to pull people out of the fire that is addiction. I'm the one that's supposed to speak the story of myself and my brother, and how past circumstance does not define who you are. And if you believe in God just a little bit, He'll change your life in extraordinary ways. Thank you so much to the JYM community, and thank you guys for changing my life and giving me a place to tell my story every Monday. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be part of the greatest mental health group on all of TikTok. For those of you that don't know, my name's Eddie and my whole life has changed. I'm the shit. And so are you. Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. I'm a single mother struggling with addiction. How many times in life have we heard that? How many times have we seen that? You got this. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, whatever your location, you got this. You got this. I would share my story with y'all. You can. You can share your story with us. Sober Rider, what's up, brother? Hey, man, it's good to see you guys, man. Thank you so much for being here, man. I appreciate y'all. Oh, man, we got to get you to 1,000. Look, we'll get you to 1,000 followers, bro. I got you on a follow. Once you get to 1,000, man, we definitely got you. 910. Why not get a real job? I got multiple streams of income because of TikTok. This is a real job. My tax papers say that being a creator is definitely a real job, but you tighten up, tighten up. You can do this too, though. You got to understand that, man. I'm not gonna hop on here and try to act like I'm better than anybody because I do TikTok. I'm honored, man. If you just heard my story, if you just sat and heard my story.